And I work a lot with business owners, so there's always a lot there, right? It's not just the transaction. What is the underpinning of what's motivating you to do what you're doing?
Mm-hmm. This is where it all begins, so say goodbye to all your fears, all your doubts. This is where they die. This is where we come to win, we come to fly. This is where we make our dreams come to life. Welcome to Innovation City.
Welcome to Innovation City, a podcast featuring the innovators, creators, and disruptors who are fueling innovation in emerging markets across the country. I'm Tyler Kelly. I'm here with my co-host, Leanne Buchanan.
Hello, everybody.
And we're really excited because today we have with us Mrs. Kristen Corpion. Welcome.
Hello, thank you. Glad to be here.
So, Kristen, we are really excited because I'm a recovering lawyer. You're still a practicing lawyer. So there's so much there to unpack. But I want to start off the conversation by getting a little bit more personal, understanding who you are and what drives your personal innovation. So the question I love to start off with is, what is your superpower and how did you discover it?
Okay, love this question. I'm a big fan of different testing, personality testing, and I am the elusive INFJ. I don't know if you guys know Myers-Briggs so much, but one of the things about us INFJs is that we are very good at attention to detail, almost at a level of like prophetic, you know? I certainly can't foresee the future, but it's a level of seeing detail and having a sense of what's gonna happen next as a result of just really laser focusing in on things, getting to understand things. I think that's sort of one of my superpowers.
Awesome. I was going to say what's going to happen in the next 5 minutes, but no, I'll skip that question.
You will ask me questions.
Exactly. No, this is going to be fun. So you pay attention to detail, which makes you probably a really good transactional lawyer and a good lawyer in general. But beyond the application to law, how have you found your superpower help you help people or become more purposeful?
Yeah. So that nuance and attention to detail is about seeing someone like in a very deep type of a way, not just a superficial way, which in a city like Miami, there's certainly a lot of that, present company excluded. But I think as a business owner and certainly as a lawyer and as an advisor, which is really the more important piece, being able to really see someone, what they need, and advise them accordingly is one of the things that I enjoy doing and I'm great at. Really getting past the superficial puffery and getting down to the details and like, what can we do to be better as humans beyond just the law. And I work a lot with business owners, so there's always a lot there, right? It's not just the transaction. What is the underpinning of what's motivating you to do what you're doing?
Mm-hmm. What did you do for fun growing up? Like, what was your childhood like? Did you always know you were going to be a lawyer? Walk us through kind of your origin story.
Sure. So I've wanted to be a lawyer since I was 7, but I'm the first person in my family to go to law school. I've been working since I was 15. So in terms of fun, certainly I had it, but I've been working for a long time. I was raised by a single mom who's an entrepreneur and very much motivated by that sort of working class grit, got to get stuff done. And I think there's a certain archetype of lawyers in general. It very much looks like lower middle class, trying to get to what they think or what their community thinks is like the next level. What's the next best sort of thing for you as a human? And there's a certain narrative, I think, at least in the community I was raised in. Get the degree and your life will therefore be good. It interested me, the idea of becoming a lawyer and making the world a better place. But as you become a lawyer and you see the struggles that sort of go with that and what the day-to-day really looks like, you realize that there's some level of that's not really part of the reality.
Lawyers are often the furthest away from innovation. When I think about lawyers, they're over here. And innovation's often all the way on the other side. Yeah. So how are you, from an identity standpoint, do you see yourself as an innovator? If so, what is your relationship with innovation?
Yeah, I absolutely do. And I think that the fact that most people see the law here and innovation over here is absolutely the problem, right? You cannot divorce, let's just say for me, business and law is the focus. You can't divorce the two. They've got to work together. And to the extent that we don't see our professional service providers, right, the traditionally boring folks, lawyers, accountants, as innovators, their whole industry stagnates. So that's a huge problem. And I see it, I'm at startup events here all the time. There's some level of like, if there's a lawyer in the room, nobody wants to talk to that guy or gal. I think that's a huge problem for our industry. So I absolutely see myself as an innovator, and I see it as very sad for our profession that most lawyers don't put that challenge on themselves and aren't happy with what they're doing, which really doesn't tend to allow for and propel innovation when people aren't happy with what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm paraphrasing here because I don't remember the exact tagline, but the focus of the firm is a different type or a revolutionary type of business law. I'm paraphrasing. Tell me about what you're doing that's different.
Sure. So we provide outside general counsel services to small and mid-sized companies. So we work as sort of a fractional chief legal officer to small businesses with a big focus on entrepreneurs that are just starting, who can't maybe afford sort of the best lawyers in town. We help them build out their sort of legal infrastructure to the extent that it's needed at different levels of their growth. In terms of how we're doing that differently, because we're not the first firm to offer that type of a service at all. For me, there's really a focus on our value set and on having happy lawyers and being very focused on adding value to our clients. And I don't know if we can curse on this podcast, but one of our ethos is sort of giving a shit about our clients in a very deep way, which sometimes means telling them, maybe we're not a good fit to work together. And that's really surprising that that's innovative for a law firm, but for us, I think that it is. And being a hybrid, remote-friendly firm, so we've got in-person office, we're very remote-friendly, which has really helped us during the pandemic, is something that's unique about us as well.
So what are some of the common challenges that you see that startups and entrepreneurs face in the legal realm?
Being unsophisticated consumers of legal services. That's not to say that they are not smart or brilliant or educated. A lot of times they absolutely are. But if you've never hired a lawyer and you don't speak the language, you don't know how to make a purchase of legal services. And there's a certain level of lack of education that I think really hampers the process. And it sort of makes it difficult for a consumer of legal services to tell the difference between $20 an hour LegalZoom, which is in a law firm, and $1,000 an hour lawyer at one of these big firms. It's hard for the consumer to know the difference. And then when they make a purchase and maybe not understanding what it is, which is true for every consumer, there's certainly a high level of dissatisfaction that could come along with that. So really an issue that we see is education, sometimes from really smart people doing amazing things who just sort of discount legal.
There's a trend in most legacy industries that there's an opportunity for disruption. We see it all the time in real estate, which is really central to the Miami market. We're seeing it in kind of arts and entertainment with NFTs and smart contracts. We're seeing it in healthcare with telemedicine and new ways of focusing on service delivery. So, what are a couple of ways that the industry of law or just like the legal paradigm is ripe for disruption?
So two different subsets that need to be spoken to in the industry, and that is lawyers as a whole. So their disruption that is needed is around mindset, mental health, happiness. Traditionally, the numbers for lawyers on, high-level statistics around mental health issues, alcohol abuse, unhappiness in general are really disappointing, which goes back to we can't innovate when we're unhappy with what we're doing with our lives. So that narrative needs to be addressed. But then in terms of the consumer facing, there's some level of how much can we automate, right? Which allows us to keep costs down. And automation is great, right? For contracts, for IP, for trademarks. If you're starting a nonprofit and you want to figure out how to do that without spending all this money for a law firm, there are great resources out there that you can utilize. There's a certain level of efficiency that I think is being demanded by the consumer and wanting things done quickly. Lawyers in general usually produce very slow. Even getting onboarded at a law firm can take, 3 to 4 weeks, which is a problem. Consumers want to move a lot faster than that. So I think industry trends are going to continue around being more efficient and systematizing things that maybe are clunky, being done by hand, by individuals at a firm and expensive.
One of the things that I'm fascinated by and is Web 3.0. Because that's kind of the hot topic these days. They're thinking NFTs, crypto, blockchain. and without getting into too much of the nuances of Web 3.0, which we could totally do for hours, but as we look at how digital experiences and kind of digital being ubiquitous with how we live our lives, how we run our businesses, and quite frankly, how we interact with each other, what are some of the legal ramifications, issues, or concerns that are top of mind to you?
For me, what's top of mind now as a business owner is, how do we build the infrastructure to allow for speed? How do we use different softwares and systems efficiently for our clients? How do we ensure that their data, that their information is safe and protected? That's what's always top of mind for me as an entrepreneur myself. I think what's top of mind for our clients is different depending on whatever industry that they're in, but I think it's similar, right? Because we represent business owners. So how do they remain efficient? How do they remain ensuring that they're protecting sort of privacy? How do they ensure that they're, keeping data safe? And even though we tread into new water with data, with technology, the laws are very slow to adapt. Mm-hmm. And I think that makes it a little bit difficult sometimes when you're trailblazing to know whether or not you're legally safe.
Yeah.
A lot there.
You got another question, or you want to go the lightning round?
No, I don't want to go lightning round
Okay,
yet.
I was like,
I'm just picking
I
up
see
the cards.
Like,
I'm
uh-oh.
nervous.
I'm ready. I'm ready
This is
though.
going to be a fun one, though.
So, Florida, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think I am, because I've heard Leanne say this a few times. There's more lawyers per capita in Florida than any other state,
That's correct.
right? So I'm assuming for a business like yours, as an entrepreneur, competition and differentiation, there's a challenge there. So what are you doing as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, to differentiate yourself?
Sure. Making sure that we're, to the extent that lawyers can be considered cool, if that's a brand that you can build, we're really trying. But really that give a shit mentality. We've built our firm purely on referrals and folks, trusting us enough to send things our way. I think that it's absolutely true that sort of lawyers are a dime a dozen, at least that's how people see it. But for us, we get a lot of our referrals from other lawyers. And I think there's a certain level of that abundance mindset and positivity that needs to be injected more effectively into our profession. Seeing lawyers collaborate, even if they're doing a similar type of thing, is important sort of all around. But in terms of how, our sort of unique value proposition, I think it really comes back to we're efficient, we're tech friendly, and we're a team of happy lawyers who want to innovate. And so there's some level of, your legal team should be as cool as your entrepreneurial team.
I love that idea of just being cool. That was something they did not teach us in law school. It's how to be cool. But I will say, when I was practicing, one of the things that the partners used to tell us was your job is to be like your clients, read the same publications, go to the same events, and learn what they're interested in, because then they'll actually want to do business with you. So it's fascinating that you caught on to that, relatively early and baked it into your culture. But the thing I want to talk about is this idea of happiness, because that's a new trend in the law. It's wow, you don't have to all leave law like me, and you can be happy with what you do. So what makes you happy? What are the things that you're excited about? It doesn't have to be related to work, but what makes you happy? Where do you feel the most kind of joie de vivre? And how do you incorporate that into your day to day?
Sure. So I've been practicing law now for 8 years, but there are a lot of things that I do in addition to practicing law. And when I started, it was in a very rigid environment where that really wasn't okay. In fact, when I took so I'm an adjunct professor. I teach at FIU, pre-law students. At this point, I've taught 3 different courses, some entrepreneurship courses, but right now, just a pre-law course. When I started teaching, I didn't tell my supervisors that I was going to teach, even though I accepted the adjunct gig, because I had a feeling they were going to tell me no. So I would do a full day in the office, and then I would teach from 5 to 7:45, and it was sort of something I had to hide. So for me, I've always enjoyed teaching, mentoring. There is a sense for me that I'd like to innovate within the profession and be able to speak with other lawyers about, not having to stay stuck in a place where you're miserable. And so being able to invest my time in that narrative without having to feel ashamed about it is important to me. And then, really what propelled me to open my own firm is that I didn't see any home or space where one could be a happy lawyer. So for me, I get happiness and fulfillment out of the fact that I've been spending the past 2.5 years building that for my team and for the people that work for me. So I think there's some level of entrepreneurship that is an obsession, and I am very much in that grind. But I think that being able to sort of build your ship as an entrepreneur is also allowing for the things that, you enjoy, and allowing for some level of flexibility in how you spend your time. And so for me, teaching, and then in the mornings I box. So I box 2 times a week with a professional boxing coach. And just being able to work those things into my sort of daily routine are important for me. So I've got angry energy and I've got to get it out. And even things like exercise, sometimes you can't do in a traditional setting. So encouraging that with my team and asking them, what did you do this week in terms of like personal fulfillment? Just being able to build that is important and meaningful to me.
And making space for those things, I'm sure, is meaningful for your team as well.
Absolutely.
So you mentioned that one of the goals for you when you were at the firm was trying to be like your clients.
Yes.
I'm assuming that as an entrepreneur, now you know what it's like to be like your clients, right? So tell me about those, now that you're an entrepreneur, the deeper connections that you have with your customers.
The vulnerability that goes along with taking a risk. For most lawyers, the goal is, getting the big dream job at a firm and security, and you don't usually pair lawyers with risk-taking. So for me, at 24 years old, as the first person in my family to go to college and even have a white-collar job, I was set. I should have been happy where I was, but I really was not, genuinely. And so taking a risk for me was starting my own thing. It's not something I dreamed of doing. I thought I found my dream job. And it was very scary for me to sort of go out on my own. And there's a lot of shaming in my profession that goes around being a solo, your cute little practice. Now we're a team of 8. I'm the 100% owner of my firm. And I love my team. They're amazing. And I really have had to invest all my money, time, and attention, the way every other kind of entrepreneur does, into I believe I can build this. And then convincing other clients, other people, vendors to see the vision with me. And I know what risk and vulnerability kind of goes into that, no matter what industry you're in. So I can appreciate that when I see it in my clients. I can appreciate it even down to legal isn't necessarily a priority right now. Marketing and sales is, so understanding the numbers and what goes into actually building a business gives you some perspective. Like I get legal might not be top of your pile right now. I totally get it. Let's talk about what you can do to get yourself generating revenue so that you can afford to invest some money back in and protecting what you're building.
Best part about being an entrepreneur is that you learn from failure, or you just call them lessons, as some of our other guests have said. What was or has been your biggest growth point through a failure or a challenge? Tell us about it.
So I'm really good at learning and teaching myself things. And I had a bunch of connections when I left my last firm. I started having meetings with those connections, and I thought, all right, we have a meeting, then they're just going to hire me. I didn't even think that those meetings were sales meetings, because in the law, right, we don't use the S word, sales. There's this sort of misconception that if you're a great lawyer, then like the fairies will just sprinkle clients upon you, which in any other industry is absolutely absurd. So for me, the opportunities for growth were all around sales and really redefining what that means and learning about how the professionals do it and what grade A sales is, which is really about killing your own ego and understanding what the person on the other side needs by asking questions. Most people don't care how the legal sausage gets made. I'm excited to talk about it, but I was crushing all my sales meetings because my clients didn't care. So that, for me, was a large area of opportunity and I think failure in that I didn't care enough about my clients to shut up and listen to what they had to say. And once I figured out what I was doing wrong, it really changed a lot of things in my business.
Excellent.
And now it's time for the lightning round.
Okay. Yes. You go first.
You want me to go first? All right, I'm just going to draw one. I don't know what it's going to say.
You see, you've improved from shuffling
Nervous.
to find the one you like.
Do you want to? Here, you pick the first one, but don't look at it. Just pick one.
Oh my gosh, this
No
is like a new,
pressure.
this is
new.
innovation
Is that
happening
it?
right now.
Now
Okay.
pass it.
Okay.
All right. What makes you lose track of time?
All right. Laughing. I enjoy comedy, whether it's stand-up, whether it's improv. Right now, I just watched the new season of Big Mouth. I'm a Nick Kroll fan, so laughing makes me lose track of time. I think having a sense of humor is really important.
I love it. Oof. What moves you to tears or gives you goosebumps?
It's the entrepreneurial mindset. People who are willing to go all in, play all in, risk everything. It's just, I think, the backbone of innovation, taking a risk, staking everything on it.
What or who are you grateful for?
Oh, there's a lot of people. Knee-jerk, immediate response is my mom. Single mom, raised me. She's an entrepreneur herself, and now she has 2 daughters who are entrepreneurs, and she's just an amazing human. Mm-hmm. I'm also married to a really supportive, great guy. My husband is a rock star.
What is a defining moment in your life, and how did it impact you?
My first year of law school, my dad passed away. And that was a very difficult thing to deal with in what was also intellectually probably the most difficult time in my life, the first year of law school. I did not handle it well, but it was an absolutely defining moment for me. It really made me question, why am I doing things? Life is short, and part of the reason I went to law school is my dad. Mm-hmm. So that was a big one for me.
Do you feel like he would be proud of who you are and where you are now?
Ooh, that one gets me. Yes, I really do. Because he was a very tough kind of a guy, very courageous, and I think my ability to take risks comes a lot from him infusing that in me. So I think he would.
What can you do that you could not do a year ago?
Other than sales. So a big focus, more recently, after I got over the marketing and sales hurdle, has actually been focusing on the team and being a great leader and manager, and even seeing the distinction between those 2 topics has been something I've spent the past year and a half investing and training myself on. I don't know that I am great yet, but I'm very focused on it. I think that I'm better at it, and I'm very grateful to have the team that I have right now, and that they give me opportunities to get better and better at that skill. So I think I'm better at being a leader and a manager than I've ever been.
If your life was a movie, what would the title be?
Yeah, I don't know. Let's call it Game Changer.
I love it. I love
what game I'm changing to be announced.
So we have one last question, Tyler. Take it away.
Yes, Kristen, how can people get in touch with you and with your firm?
A great way to get in touch with me is through LinkedIn or through Instagram, and to get in touch with my firm via email, info@corplaw.us, or our website, www.corplaw.us.
Thank you so much. This was fun. We got a chance to learn a little bit more about you, and I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to Innovation City. If you like this episode, you can find more episodes at innovationcity.co or anywhere where you watch or listen to podcasts. Please subscribe, rate, and review, and we'll see you next week.
This is where it all begins, so say goodbye to all your fears, all your doubts. This is where